Microphone Masters, J Love here with the gentleman that's been on Microphone Masters a couple times, but it's good to have him back. This time, maybe I'll ask him a few more questions and maybe try to get into because this gentleman is not only talented but very intelligent as well. The one and only Glasses Malone. What's up, man?
And I'm cooling, man. What's happening?
Man, I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling. So there's a lot of questions that I want to get to you because typically when we have these conversations, we're kind of more micro focused. So I'm looking forward to a little bit more macro. But I have to ask, as an artist, especially as talented as you are, been in the game for as long as you've been in the game, the new project, Glass House, the prequel, is how is it coming at a project that, because I know that the Glass House original kind of came from the mixtape kind of series that you were doing, and when you're trying to put something of that magnitude in a kind of a sequel way, is there pressure that comes to that? Because I got to say, I love that song, six in the morning. That song, the G mix, that song is banging for sure.
For that particular project, thank you. First off, thank you. But for that particular project, Glass House 2 became like me reaching my pinnacle sonically. Like and not my pinnacle, like I had arrived in a place to where I could tell stories sonically. Salas, Brian Salas, who's an advisor of so many great artists on the West Coast, DJ Head, who became a staple in the scene. We were all coming up at that time and really starting to care about records and learn records. We didn't want to just keep fumbling through music, and it was some mathematics about it, was some science about it. Yeah. I'm a math person, like I'm great A's and like A's my whole life in math, calculus in high school. So to realize there were like math involved with it, it started helping me see sonics differently. So Glass House 2 that came out in 2015, I was able to put together a project sonically. Before that, I had to tell stories through what I was saying. By Glass House 2, I was able to tell a story sonically. So Glass House 1 coming out in 2012 was different because I was just learning about records, what records were versus songs. Mm-hmm. And I still wasn't able to completely tell a story sonically. So dropping it and then it being a part of the mixtape circuit, it really went under the radar because That Good was so big. Ty Dolla $ign to see Ballin'. So to go back and realize it's time for me to bring my past catalog to Spotify or to Apple or to Tidal, to all streaming apps, it gave me the ability to implement, what I've been learning over the last 7-8 years, which is, what records is about, what hip hop is about, what marketing is about. And to be able to tell that story sonically, to translate it fully. So now people hear it and they like, yo, this is really dope. It's really good. It's like, no, I just know how to tell the story sonically, what I was trying to tell you then. So it's not as challenging. It is because I don't want to give too much of what I'm doing today into what I did yesterday.
Okay.
But I do want it to be fresh. So when you hear it with fresh ears, you know what I mean? You get something new that you didn't get the first time. So it's the challenge is intriguing to say the least.
So with having said that, with the stuff that because I'm sure you're in the studio, I mean, the backdrop that for those that are watching that see this, the backdrop being the kind of studio backdrop and all that, what is your level of output in terms of what you're recording and then being able to go back and look on, when you start to really be able to understand the secrets, so to speak, to be able to produce those songs and really be even step up in your level. What's that level of output now for you in the studio now as you're still trying to create and still having things to say and stories to tell?
My output is at its highest. Everything is more targeted, so I can literally create an idea from scratch and take it there. Songs is easy. Like the first half of my career, I just created great songs or good songs. Mm-hmm. But to go into spaces of creating great records, the difference between a song and a record, imagine like a song is like the picture of something, right? You're painting a picture and then you just paint the picture. Okay. Let's talk about it in a puzzle form. Like it's a 1,000-piece puzzle. And the center of the puzzle may show you the picture, that the puzzle is, but it doesn't complete the picture.
Okay.
Saying like it's a picture of a dog. But then if you use all 1,000 pieces, you realize it's a dog in a room with a tree in the back and a dog bowl and the owner standing behind him.
Gotcha.
The difference between creating a song and a record. So my output is dope because it's higher because I can literally execute everything faster. Like now I know when I'm marching in what I'm doing versus just creatively allowing everything to come to me. Like at one time I used to have to let things come to me, listen to a beat till it tell me what to write. Now
Right.
I come up with an idea and go make a beat or go find a loop, a break, and then finish it right there, like Tupac Must Die.
Now, see, that's interesting that you say that because I mean, I write a little bit myself, and so oftentimes I'm doing the same thing, trying to let the beat talk to me and tell me what to write. But you say all right, so you have the concept, and you're just trying to find the right beat or the right tempo, all those things that help you to execute that idea. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, like once you become like what do I want to say? I want to call it a master, but that would be like a bit too I don't want it to come across arrogant, but like when you put in your 10,000 hours,
Yeah.
you start to realize you control a lot more of the space than you imagined before.
Mm.
Like I don't have to let a beat talk to me. I'll go
Okay.
I'll go talk to the music. Like I'll go find a loop, a break. I'll go play vinyls. I'll go play YouTube and find something. My idea is here and find something and then be like, okay, I'm gonna take this. This is the melody for the hook. Here's the break. Loop that, reproduce the break, spread it out, rap, done.
Gotcha.
So
I
it's
like
it's, um it's when it goes from it's the mix of like when we first start off, we all artists because we just letting the beat talk to us.
that. Hmm.
And you start to implement the science of making records. So it's the art of music, and then it's the science of making records, and they come together.
Okay, the one and only Glasses Malone here on Microphone Masters. Now you mentioned science and you mentioned math, so I wanted one of the things I wanted to know is that, and I think I would be wrong in this assumption was a lot of the artists, a lot of writers, whether it's regardless of the genre, it are maybe English was their favorite subject in school, but it seems to me, maybe it was math that was something that really caught you. So tell me a little bit about that and what is it about math, especially going to calculus. I went up to pre-calculus, so I give you much props on that calculus. But talk to me about what math means to you.
Math is certain.
Okay.
Um, I'm a fact-based person. I prefer facts. It's tough, but I prefer them. So the certainty of translation, the certainty of math is math in every country.
True.
I mean, it's the universal language. Dialogue could change. English ain't English in certain shit. English ain't English in England.
True.
So it's like math is still math there. You could just use different metrics, but math is always math. 1+1 = 2 anywhere around the globe. You know what I'm saying? So I like that in a sense of it makes me much more of a master communicator. So like when I'm communicating the idea, like with Tupac Must Die, to communicate the idea, I felt more empowered to do so.
Right.
Like I knew how to tell a story completely.
Now you mentioned that, and I know last time we had you on the show that we were talking about the Tupac Must Die in Star Saxon and Nine. We thought, I mean, wonderfully executed. Just the video was great, the storytelling was great, and it's funny how sometimes people seem to miss what is it, the forest for the trees when they're listening to the song and some of the reaction. How do you, as an artist, not just with Tupac Must Die, but just with people being opinionated when it comes to something that you've that you've given a lot of time and effort to in terms of thinking out the execution and the delivery of this, how they can be so short-sighted maybe at times when it comes to receiving your music?
Real hip hop was always a preferred flavor.
Okay.
Um, the confusion is that everybody's supposed to like it. That's
Good
not
point.
that's not the
Good point.
beginning of NWA. That's not the beginning of Ice-T. That's not the beginning of Ice Cube. Like that's
Right.
not how it really goes. It's
Yeah.
we look at Straight Outta Compton and Fuck the Police today and it's celebrated, but not in 1988.
Yeah.
It was a lot to step out there. The way we talk, the way we act, shit. Particularly West Coast culture was under assault the whole time, even from other parts of hip hop culture. You know what I mean? It was always under duress. It was always being attacked from
Yeah.
mainstream and even other people within the culture. So to me, it ain't authentic West Coast hip hop if it's not under attack. If the motive
Ah.
is not questioned, that's so walking in, I knew that if it's what I thought it would be, that's always going to stroke the conversation because it's going to be questioned. It don't matter how hardcore the facts are. It don't matter
Hmm.
if they're talking about the police being harmful to the black community and mistreating people. It didn't make sense immediately, and that's okay. You know what I mean? So I find a lot of solace and understanding that the legends that I grew up listening to and the guys that I looked up to, like I said, the Ice-T's, the NWAs, those guys who shaped the genre, Snoop Dogg, that I actually perform in, they wasn't accepted. It came with a lot of shit. I'll never forget when Snoop first came out and it was on the news where they bought all these CDs and they
Hmm.
walked over with a steamroller
Yeah.
on the news. And I was thinking like they bought 200 CDs. So to have, I just look at people who don't agree with what I'm saying or question what I'm saying. They're just mainstream. And there's a lot of people that think they're culture, but they're mainstream today. They're just all mainstream. They have no concept of perception, and things are above the law. So I knew that I was joining great company. When
I
it happened.
like that. I like that. So again, Glasses Malone here on Microphone Masters. It's funny because I'm from Southern California, so a little town called Victorville. And so when I graduated high school, I went up to San Jose to attend San Jose State. And so you being from Cali, when I say this, the difference between the Bay and Southern California. I remember the first time I heard somebody say hella. So, oh man, there's hella girls over there. There's hella fools over there. And being from Southern California, we say a grip or a gang. There's a gang of fools over there, a grip of fools. And so sometimes it's that dialogue, just the slight little differences, but that again, it's not widely accepted. For me, I wasn't so ready to accept that type of slang and that dialect because of where I was from. I guess to your point.
So we have a very serious cultural tie in Los Angeles. That's pretty much bar none. You know what I mean? We have a serious cultural identity, and it makes it tough. Like this, the fact of giving a woman money for sex goes against culturally what we stand for.
Right.
Like so many of these things shape our lives, and we never pay attention to it.
So I know you have a podcast yourself on one of with the Black Effect Network, I believe. It's called No Ceilings podcast. So you strike me as somebody that not only mathematically leaning, but well read. Do you keep your head in the book in terms of, and also kind of figuring out, keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on out there in the world? Tell me a little bit about Glasses Malone.
Man, I read a ton. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Not as much as I would like, but I read a lot. But I'm also taking in all kind of educational information, whether it's about culture. I try to vest myself in our culture really deep to get a much better understanding, at its most basic, operations.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm not reading a book, like I read Blue Rage Black Redemption, I'm finna buy Monster Cody's book and read it again because I feel like I forgot some of the part.
Okay.
I look at a lot of Kev Mac interviews.
Okay.
On YouTube is like the super dope gang historian who understands and documents our culture in LA. And I get so much information from it and listening to certain people talk, so it's so many ways to digest information that I'm not restricted to just a book anymore. You know what I mean? Like now we're able to consume information a lot. And I spend a lot of hours in a day consuming information, even, listening to old records to learn how to shape my records. I
Yes.
realized the other day, Dr. Dre is the greatest, in hip hop at making records because probably no one knows more records than he does in hip hop. Like if he ever questioned how to finish a record, he can go back to the original record or a couple records that can inspire his record and say, oh, this is how you finish it. So it's very much history is our friend, even if slavery is a major part of it, it's still our friend to tell us how to stay away from everything else.
I agree with that, but I got to ask this in terms of when it comes to Dre, for example. is Dre the perfect example of that genius that sometimes is there's paralysis through analysis. So we know that when he touches something, especially if it sees the light of day, that it's going to be at its sonic finest. But oftentimes it seems, at least from what was reported through the media, and even I think through some of the things that he said himself, that he'll just want to keep tweaking. I want to tweak it just a 0.5% better here, take it down 0.5% here. Have you ever had something like that, or do you know some people that are like that have that paralysis through analysis?
I don't know if it's paralysis. I
Okay.
think I mean shit. I mean Dr. Dre gave us starting from NWA, Easy E. You know, before that, the stuff he did with the Wrecking Crew, he gave us DLC. He gave us multiple NWA albums. He gave us his own album. He gave us Snoop out. Like we have a ton of music, no matter what type of perfectionist he is.
Right.
I mean, no matter how much he tweaks and shit, we still have a ton of Dr. Dre. I mean, what we have 30 albums produced by Dr. Dre.
Yeah, maybe I'm being a little selfish, right?
You know what I mean? It's like I want 300. It's like, bro. So, but yeah, honestly, the more you learn, yes, it's true. Like I'll tweak on a song. Man, by the time a song comes out now, you might be listening to the 118th bounce of that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I might have bounced that idea 100 times before you ever hear it. Prime example, I'm finishing up a single that I'm gonna drop next month and shoot a video for. And listening to it, I started off in one direction. I knew where I was gonna go. So when I came to Irvin Polk to produce the idea, I knew the idea already, and I gave it to him. So he kind of put it together. I restructured it to how I heard it, right, and started to kind of come up with the chorus, right. So me and my boy Joey Westside, we started working on the chorus. We was working on the chorus for Nocturnal, right. We wanted his voice because to me, Snoop is the king of that voice styling, but Nocturnal is right there and underused. He's an underused resource to me in West Coast music, like what he does.
Yeah.
So we did it for him. But then we end up liking it so much, now we don't have him doing it. Feel me? Because this is cool how it sounds. We was emulating him and ended up with something that sounded really dope. And then, we laid the verses out. And then all the verses was cool. Okay, we knocked that down. So now I'm tweaking on a hook, and I'm like, okay, how do I turn this chorus into a hook? So it's a 1,000-piece puzzle. A record is a 1,000-piece puzzle at the highest level. So, you always trying to put pieces in. Will you ever get the 1,000 pieces done? I doubt it. I doubt Dr. Dre has ever did a record and then was like, okay, this is perfect. I'm leaving it alone. You just stop. Eventually you just be like, okay, this is great enough. Right. I don't think somebody like Dr. Dre who knows all of those records, because you're going to always find your time. You're going to always spend your time, rather, finding perfect sonic spaces for everything. So you have to kind of come to a place to where it's like, bam, bam. For me particularly, I'm an artist, so it's important when you actually doing the business to have a bird's eye view of the game. It's so important that you can see the whole, playing field. But as an artist, I can't go too far above the game. So I have to keep my hand on its pulse just enough so I'm lifting up and I'm looking down, because I have to do my own business as well. And I'm looking down, but, to the point now where it's just like a finger is on the post, like it's the tip. But I have to stay there because as an artist, you have to stay grounded into it so you can know how to maneuver things. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you can know where everything is at while you're doing what you're doing.
So you mentioned we're here with Glasses Malone here on Microphone Master. So you mentioned the business of music, but in terms of your, let's say, portfolio of sorts, what are some different things that Glasses Malone is doing? Of course, I mentioned the No Ceilings podcast, so trying to diversify yourself in terms of that, being able to express your opinions and your thoughts. What other types of things? Are there any types of, traditional businesses that you invest in to try to keep some stream of income coming in for you?
No.
Okay.
I'm working with the mayor of Sun Village. It's one of the earliest affluent Black communities in Los Angeles County, one of the earliest ones established in the 30s by a man from Chicago, an attorney. And I'm working with the mayor on trying to create other economic opportunities. Right now, we're working on a drag strip, just to say something.
Okay.
Um, it's all culture for me and nothing. Like if I wanted to make money, I wouldn't do music. I would sell drugs.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm a storyteller at its finest. Everything I focus on is, telling a great story and making a great story. So um, there's not a lot of room for conventional businesses. I've been thinking about doing some stuff, but I don't know. Like it's tough sometimes to create a story. There's
Right.
so many in and outs, man. You know what I mean? But the story is so dope. You know what I mean? It ain't a lot of conventional businesses that have great stories to me.
Cool. So one thing that you mentioned. So I want to ask this, especially with your knack for storytelling. And I'm not telling you to share any secrets here, but do you ever get reached out to about, hey, we need your pen for artist X to be able to try to tell their story, a little bit of ghostwriting? Have you ever been tapped on the shoulder for something like that?
A couple times, but it's always going to be tough because what I do is kind of like a one-off.
Okay.
Um, like I have to kind of descend, and I don't mean that like down, but like from where I'm at creatively to share space with other people.
Gotcha.
If I did collab on a story with somebody, it's to me like I'm trying to separate myself. I just literally kind of finished doing the math to realize Ice Cube is the greatest storyteller. So at that point, I'm always looking at the greatest of everything and trying to compete. Like if you hear the project that I'm about to release or finishing up, right? I'm only competing with Ghost.
Oh, okay. I hear you.
Anything on the basketball court today. I'm competing with the legacy of Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, Kobe Bryant, Scottie Pippen, or LeBron James at this point, uh, uh, um, Dennis Rodman, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, there's no space for me to compete with nobody else. Like, I'm not even
Gotcha.
looking at if I looked at the West Coast landscape and decided to compete with somebody now, it would be nobody worthy. Not saying
Hmm.
like they're not making amazing music and having people celebrate their shit, but artistically, it's just not great enough for me.
Okay. I like that. So
Dot, Early YG. I think Ty does a great job with records, but I think as creators, we should all be competing with Ghosts.
I like that. So again, Glasses Malone, Glass House, the prequel. Where can people find it? Where tell folks how they can stay in touch with you, because I know you're active on social media, but tell folks how they can stay in touch with you.
Google it. Bash House, you feel me, is on all streaming apps. Um, I'm most active on my Twitter, because it's wit required. It's not like a picture. I'm most likely on Twitter, but I'm Googleable. You can find me everywhere.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate it, man. Hey, I appreciate it, and I look forward to having another conversation. See, I like these deeper conversations, man. It's the one and only Glasses Malone here on Microphone Masters.
You're going to have a lot to talk to me about over the next 60 days.
I'm looking forward to it, my brother.